So I picked up this tote the other day. It's a good tote. It's a great tote. There's only one thing missing. It's not made of leather. Now, if you're gonna say, Dom, you better not ruin that tote. It's a perfectly good tote. You're absolutely right. This thing's gonna be shredded for experimental reasons and for a deconstruction tutorial. We're gonna do that right now. Okay, so basically today we're just gonna do a breakdown on how to deconstruct a bag that you, let's say, bought as a canvas bag and wanted it to be leather like we're doing, or it's a bag that you've had for a long time. It's starting to look like Joe Pesci in Home Alone, you know, when he starts to look disheveled. And you don't wanna walk around with that. But anyways, we're gonna try this out first, this bag, and then we're gonna find out things, what we like about it, what we don't like about it. Then afterwards, we can adjust it to the way you'd like it, or maybe the way that I'd want it to be today. And then basically, you're gonna end up with an awesome bag. And it's gonna be awesome because we're gonna make it together. It's customized to you. And if you have any questions, let us know. I got this tote from Livia on Commercial Drive, and it's like being in Italy. Well, I've never been to Italy, but you know, pretty good. All right, so now that we had a chance to use it for a few days, before we do any adjustments, before anything, we have to understand the anatomy of the bag. Now at this point, you have to be careful with cutting the seams of the bag. You might have some materials that are too delicate, so for those parts, take it slow. Now this part, I like laying the pieces out and visually seeing what piece goes with which, so I don't lose track and sabotage myself. In this part, you'll see the panels that connect to the bottom gusset and the front pocket that was stitched to the handle that was also stitched on the front panel in the same stitch. All right, so now that we have it all laid out, we're gonna have to make some adjustments. Right here, we don't really need this top gusset, especially if you're using a thicker leather like 4 to 5 ounce, which we'll use. You're not gonna need that top hem unless you really want to. And visually you like it. But you know what? It's up to you, boo-boo. It's up to you. There's also this pocket that I like. It's nice that it's on the outside, but at the same time, I kind of want it to be on the inside as well. So maybe we'll use the same stitching line to have 2 pockets, one on the inside, one on the outside. That way, we can utilize 2 pockets and then still have that look that we wanted to do. So for the straps right here, maybe we'll make it a little shorter because I don't really like having such a long strap. Put it around my shoulder, the other one pops out, blah, blah, blah. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make this shorter. We're gonna put a couple of D-rings on the corners, and then we're gonna have an extra strap. That way we can hide it whenever we want to, and we can use it whenever we want to. All right, so now let's get to the leather. Now, since we're making a daily tote, we have to make daily decisions with it. What are we gonna bring? How heavy we're gonna bring? Are we gonna bring that 12-pack of beer that we wanted to bring for that birthday party, or are we just gonna not go because it's too much work to go? If those are the decisions, we gotta choose something that's heavy duty. Now, the leather we got for the bottom is the Rambler. This one's 100% veg tan, 4 to 5 ounce, pebble grain, so you're not gonna see a lot of those scratches. The other piece, the main body is gonna be this one. This one's called the Grind. Now it's a nice matted texture and it smooths out over time as the patina comes in. And also the last part is a nice thick piece of leather called the Maremma. That's gonna be for the strap. Now you can use thinner leathers for this. You can use the same leather that you're using for the body. Only thing I don't like about it is that it stretches over time, and I don't like that feeling when things get a little flimsy, you know what I'm saying? You can do it with the same leather, but you have to fold it over, stitch it, and that's a lot of work, and I'm what they call efficient. So we're gonna use something a little thicker, and the Maremma is the perfect one for that. Now all we have to do is trace them and cut these pieces. These pieces that we just cut are gonna be used as direct templates right on the leather. Now, since it's a tote bag, I'm not really concerned about the size drop of the whole bag, but if you are making an exact replica of the bag that you want, make sure to add 1/2 inch or so, since the thickness of the leather is going to be a factor, and also the spacing of your stitch line from the edge of the leather. And if you want to make it stronger, you can also add another 1/4 inch, just so you can have an extra stitch line. A trick that I use is if I have a pattern already, and I want to use the piece on there, and I have to add 1/2 inch or some sort of extra measurement for the seam allowance, I'll tack the pieces down with some masking tape on top of some manila paper, and usually just take a ruler and just follow the ruler 1/2 inch out, or whatever measurement I need for the piece. That way I can have a more solid piece, and I'm not guessing when I'm scratching or, you know, marking my leather piece. That way it's nicer, more even, and more professional. Let's do it. All right, so before we do anything, what we have to do is make sure that the patterns are straight. So now we have roughly even edges here. Now that those are set, let's use them as templates. Just use your scratch all and make sure you get the right pieces. Okay, so we ran into a little bit of issue por your tissue, you know? This leather right here is gonna be way too thick to be underneath this piece, for that to go over, to hide. See now how big of a bulge that is. Now we don't want that. In any other case, we need to fix it. Now what we have to do is basically skive from here to where the pocket ends. So we'll use the leather splitter to make, it thinner just up to that pocket so you don't see too much of the transition. So this is our leather splitter. And if you've never seen or used a leather splitter before, it's pretty awesome, especially for straps. Now this, if you don't know how to use it, I'll put a link in the description so you know exactly how to use it, or it's on our Instagram, you can look it up there too. So now what this whole setup's gonna look like is that it's gonna line up. So I made little marks, the middle of this and the middle of this as well. 2 marks right here, and they're just gonna match like that. These are gonna go right on top of it, right there. So you see the mark where we skived it? That's just gonna sit here. And then what'll happen is this back part will just flap over just like this, probably gonna go a ½ inch over, and it's just gonna sit nicely and stitch right there. That looks incredible. So before we stitch it, we're gonna have to glue them. So to glue this one, we're gonna have to basically flip this over, mark this with a wing divider, and then also we're gonna glue this top pocket, this part, this just all gonna go on top just like that. And also we're gonna flip this over. You're also gonna have glue over here, and then that's gonna flip over, and then we'll put the stitching punches, and then we'll stitch it. So the main reason that we're scratching it is that if you have smooth leather, the leather cement doesn't stick too much to it, so you have to rough it up a little bit, you know? Give a little 1-2, not really that kind of roughing. You can use a leather rougher, or you can even just use an awl to scratch that part. So then it's nice and roughed up so the glue sticks to it. Now what you're about to see might look dangerous, because it is. The burning of leather cement speeds up the process of drying by burning off the solvents, making the glue adhere stronger to the leather. Now hammering down the glued area also helps to make the bond stronger, so when we stitch, it ain't going anywhere, no thing. So, as expected, we got caked out. Nina has to do her shoemaking course over there, and they're gonna make amazing shoes, and that's, you know, yeah, have fun with it. But now we're in our work in progress studio in the warehouse, and soon enough our workshops are gonna be here, we're gonna be filming here, everything's gonna be here. What we have to go through now is taking care of this bottom part, where we have to make it into a flat kind of box tote. But what we saw earlier with this weird panel is that it has mountain folds and valley folds over here that folds over like this. And what'll happen is you have 4 pieces of leather stacked on top of each other. Now that's not gonna fly. It's gonna be way too thick. It's gonna be insane looking when it starts doing this. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna make a simple box tote, and I'll show you how to do that right now. All right, so now that we have our tote laid out, we're just gonna figure out the length of it. This is about 32 inches, and it's exactly 32 inches. So now we just have to find the middle, which would be 16. Now I'm gonna mark that with my silver pen and all, or even just, you know, just your finger, just so you can see it. So what we're gonna do basically is make a box tote. Now what that's gonna look like is gonna be cut around right here. So what it'll look like is, let's say this is the leather. That's the leather right there. And then what I'm gonna do is show you the measurements for it. So let's say we want a 3-inch bottom, right? That's our 3-inch bottom. And what'll happen is it's gonna be cut in half. Now this is gonna be 1.5 here, and this is also gonna be 1.5 here. That way when it folds over, it's the same amount of shape and it'll line up perfectly where it needs to go. So we're gonna cut this part. And so after that's done, I'll show you how to stitch it. Now it's all dependent on the sizing and all the stuff in your bag, but for this one, it's 3 inches, 1.5 inches on each side. So you're basically dividing it by 2 all the time, okay? Now, like we did in all the other old videos, it's very important, very imperative to cut. Oh, this corner, seriously. To cut away from the leather. So we want to start on the corner and then cut out. So if I'm doing this, I'm gonna start from the leather, cut out. You never want to cut towards the leather because if it slips, away hooped. Now that we have that cut, it looks like that, we're gonna have to glue everything together. Now, start only with the sides first. You wanna glue it this way, and just glue the sides. Don't worry about the bottom part as well. Before we do anything, we're gonna scratch it, we're gonna glue it, so to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Now this part I have a little trick. Now, since it's gonna be a box tote, it's gonna be folded over like this. To keep that, what do you call this? This bulge from showing up on the other side, what I like to do is cut a 1/4 inch, basically what we're using as our stitching guide, well, a stitching distance from the edge right here. I'll cut that just so it gives us that space for the leather to fold. So same with the other side as well. All right, so now this is what the bag looks like. As you can see on the little spot right here, that notch really did its job where we cut it that 1/4 inch that we're gonna use for a seam allowance, and it just sits nice and flat over here, and that way it's a more seamless approach to that corner. Well, the only thing I don't like about this part is this one right here. This corner part right here, I'm not a machine guy, so that, like I said, we're gonna get it wrong, you know, we'll figure it out. But what I'm gonna do, since the handles are made short, we're gonna put some straps on it. So we're gonna put a couple of D-rings in here, and that way we can wear it around, across. It'll be more convenient to carry if you don't wanna hold it. Now for this one, we're really only gonna need some scraps, a couple of D-rings. If you want, you could use an end punch, a knife, a ruler, some awls, a mallet, and that rotary punch thing. All right, so now that we got the D-rings all set, all we really need to do now, two more things we need to do. We need to add some snaps. Now you don't need to do this part at all, but I like to keep my bag secure and closed when I'm waving it around like crazy, but I don't really do that. It's just in case you need to, you know, bang. We're just gonna add a couple snaps here. Now, to do that, we're gonna have to measure it first and then add some line 20 snaps. That way we can keep it closed. Also, if you don't know how to set a line 20 snap, just click on this link over here, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Still have to put a strap on it, but if you want to put a strap, we can click on this link again, and we'll show you a quick slider strap. I know the sliders can be a little bit finicky, and I kind of like the slider because you can adjust it with miniature adjustments on the spot. But if you don't want the strap, a quick slider strap, you could also do a buckle. So since we adjusted the handles to be really short, we're gonna put some straps on this as we put the D-rings in, put some clips on it, and I'll show you the final product after I'm done. The moment of truth. Let's flip it over. All right, so y'all ready? Bam! Look at that! Just, you know what I'm saying? We did it! Hey, where'd you get your bag from? Oh, you know, I made it, don't worry about it. And you can say that you made it yourself. That's pretty cool. Go to the grocery store, oh, I'm just gonna go get some groceries. And then where you wanna go? You wanna go to the beach? Oh yeah, just don't worry about it, I'm gonna go to the beach. And there's, oh, you need a drink? Oh, I got a drink, it's in my tote that I made by myself. Not crazy? Now you can just take it wherever you want to go. And that's your tote. You can make this all yourself at home or in your studio or whatever, wherever you feel like. But if you have any questions on how to make it, what to make, and even just any ideas that you have that you're thinking of making, just let us know. Send us a message, send us an email. We're happy to answer any of your leather related questions. And I'm pretty stoked for this. I don't know if I'm gonna give it away. I don't know if I'm gonna keep it. We'll see what happens. But now you know how to deconstruct your own projects. Pretty fun. Wallets, bags, anything that you like to make, anything that you'd like to recreate, you can just follow this tutorial and you know exactly what to do. And if you don't, like I said, message us, send us an email, send us a message. We're happy to help. Pretty stoked that you guys have watched till the end. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. It helps us a lot and it makes us do more leatherwork videos for you. Thanks, bye. Replica.